What's going on, guys? Pxcam 20 back in with a brand new video. We are here for our last FIA race of the season. I know, I'm sad too. This season has been really great for us. We actually find ourselves in the top 19 points of all of North America, so has been one of the best seasons I had so far in my GT Sport career, although I've only had it for about a year. But we're gonna see what we can do here, as we are ranked 5th place around my favorite racetrack, a Fuji Speedway. So I'm hoping that everything's gonna go great, but unfortunately I did not really like the car that was being used around here. You can pick any car, but the number one car that was performing over everybody else was the McLaren 650, and that usually is not my favorite car. But as we jump into the points, it's going to be 256 points for the win if we can get it. And honestly, I was feeling confident, but we'll see what happens here. So before we jump into the race, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that is enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into qualifying. As we jump into qualifying, it's going to be very important here at Fuji, because one thing that can happen here is you can just get stuck behind a very long train, and what could end up happening is you can form into like multiple packs, where you have like a lead pack, a second pack, and a mid pack that's just fighting with each other. And on top of that, the slipstream on this racetrack is just so damn strong. So it's going to be utilized a lot, especially down this very long straight. So we're going to see what we could do here as we come out of the final corner. You see everybody was trying to get into the slipstream, but the people that couldn't, they just ended up backing out and going back to the pits and restarting a lap. But after our first flower lap, we only get 146.6, so not really a good lap. About 7/10 slower than the pole position time. But as we try going around for a second lap, we actually don't improve at all. We actually get a worse time, and we fall all the way back down to 9th, 10th, and it looks like we're just going to continue falling down, as finally the qualifying gets result and we get lucky number 13. So it's going to be a lot of work, as we're going to be starting in the middle of the pack. But as we jump into the intro, the strategy here, there really wasn't a strategy. This was basically a flat-out race, 14 laps around the Fuji Speedway, and we're going to be using the hard compound tire. So a couple of guys did have to worry about the fuel, I believe, but the McLaren does pretty well on the fuel consumption. So like I said, we're just going to go flat out, try to make as many positions as we can, and hopefully we can come home with a great finish, since we are starting towards basically the mid pack and at the end of the back. So let's jump into the race and see what happens here. Jumping into the race, you can see here that we are doing a grid start. So it's going to be really interesting, but beneficial towards us, because everyone's still going to be very tight together than if it was a rolling start. But as we're starting off in 13th again, we are waiting on the red lights and just making sure that we don't accidentally jump the starts. 5 red lights are now up, as 11th place actually gets a jump start. You can see that he's slowly pulling over to the left hand side. We already get 1 position here as the lights go green. 2 positions here as we are now heading into turn number 1, but it's 3 wide, as we have a car right underneath us going into the first corner for the first time. Just trying to take it very easily, as Roman gets pushed out from behind, and we were able to avoid majority of the carnage, as we were actually able to get 2 positions here, as we were stuck right behind Myrtle. So not too bad of a start now, as we are working our way into Coca-Cola, and we just stay right behind Myrtle, as we don't want to accidentally force ourselves into a position where we get a penalty here, because the track limits here are just very touchy. You can abuse it to an extent, but if you put an extra a couple of feet into where you're doing your cuts and trying to abuse the track limits, can easily get a penalty. So that's one thing I was really trying to avoid going into this race. So going into turn number 10 here, we're staying right behind Myrtle as we brake as late as we can, but we actually brake very late. We make the corner, but everybody ahead of us was stacking up, and Myrtle, poor Myrtle, had nowhere to go except to take his normal racing line, and we accidentally make contact with his side, get him a little out of shape, and that was all my fault. I should have braked a lot earlier, but we just let him go through and waited for him, and because of that stupid mistake from me, we actually lose about 4 positions, and we are demoted back into 15th. So already we went from a great start to a bad start, and it's only been 1 lap. But as we come out of the final corner, I'm not worried too much, as a couple guys ahead of us did have to start the penalty. And if you guys know about the penalty zone here on Fuji, it is terrible. So this is probably one of the worst places to get a penalty, because it's on the start of the straight and you just lose so much momentum. And due to that, like a half a second penalty can easily turn into a 1.5 second penalty, just because of all the momentum that is lost. But as we head down into lap number 2, you can see that once we passed that penalty zone, we were able to gain 3 positions, and we are back into 12th place as we are now trying to get around the Myrtle. And so Myrtle is covering his spot as best as he can, as we're just trying to take a peek everywhere. But heading into turn number 10, we attempt the overtake once again as he makes a little bit of contact with K-Bonix's rear, but that slowed him down just a tad bit, as we are now sending it on the outside off of turn number 12, and we were able to get the position now. So back up into 11th, we are back to our record high for this race. Now we set our sights on K-Bonix, and I'm hoping that we can get something heading to turn number 1, maybe using the slipstream, and we can get away that 10th place position from him just before the leaders start pulling away. But as we come out of the final corner, you can see we're a little too far back to do anything with that. So we're just going to continue on forward, just be patient, run our lines, make sure that we hit all our marks, and hopefully the guys right ahead of us make a little bit of mistakes so that we can set ourselves up for an overtake. But into the final sector, this actually has not been one of my best sectors of the racetrack, and it's really unfortunate because you need to have a really great sector 3 in order to put yourself in a position to make an overtake, just because, again, the front stretch is just so long, and it's what do you call it, a great place to make an overtake. So if you're not able to position yourself correctly after the final sector, it just makes things a lot more difficult. As you can see, we get the run, but we're just too far back to make any attempt of an overtake, as we actually make a little bit of contact with K-Bonix. I don't think he saw me there on the inside, so just kind of made a little bit of contact. But that's going to be the issue that we're going to be struggling with on Sector 3. So either we learn how to get Sector 3 really good, or we're just going to continue struggling here as we jump a little more forward into lap number 4. So again, into turn number 10, K-Bonix goes for the inside of YS Gaming, and they actually messed him up on the exits. We attempt to go for a cheeky move onto the inside of K-Bonix and capitalize on his mistake, but unfortunately just really nowhere to go, ran out of space, and he forced us into the grass. So we just kind of had to back out right there and wait for another opportunity to show so that we can attempt the overtake. But going into the final corner, he actually got stacked up from YS Gaming, as YS Gaming is struggling a little bit here on his tires, and this is going to be very beneficial towards us because we have 2 slipstream here. We can use the slipstream of YS Gaming and K-Bonix. So if K-Bonix does go to the right hand side, we should be able to get some great straight line speed. But passing the start finish line, we go into the inside, so side by side with K-Bonix, but K-Bonix decides to try to pull out, and he did not see me on the inside once again, and doing that, he actually missed his braking point, and so did the car right behind us on Myrtle, and he makes a costly mistake. As you can see, we jump into the replay. He was thinking too much about trying to make an overtake on YS Gaming, did not see me on the inside, and that actually cost him there because he went a little bit wide. And now he's under the threat of us as we are attempting to move on the right hand side by side with K-Bonix going to Coca-Cola. Usually not a great idea, but K-Bonix plays it smart, backs out of the move, and we go single file into Coca-Cola without any incidents. So good racing against K-Bonix. We are now promoted into 10th place, and you can see it right ahead of us that 7th place of Mad Knight Mopar is kind of building up a little train here, as he's in the Viper. So one of the courageous guys of picking a different car besides the mighty McLaren, and what do you call it, he is now struggling just a tad bit here, as the 8th place car, a stock car racer, is all over his rear. But we get a little stacked up off of the final corner. I tried to make a little move onto the inside of YS Gaming and just did not work. Made a little bit of contact, and that just killed my momentum as K-Bonix was able to re-overtake us down the straight. Going down into turn number 1 on the 6th lap here, we're attempting the overtake on the inside as we try to brake as late as we can. And K-Bonix runs a little bit wide once again, and we're able to re-overtake him, get back into the 9th place position as we jump into the replay. It's a little bit confusing here because I'm not sure if I made contact with him or not. On the game, it kind of looked like it made contact, but at the same time, like, if it was contact, it was the slightest amount of contact. I just really did not notice it on the heat of the moment when I was doing the racing. But we just kind of push ourselves forward here as we set our sights on Mad Night Mopar, and again, we were just riding along here in 9th place as everybody right behind us was fighting so hard that they actually ended up building a little gap from me to them. So it was really great for me because all I had to do now is just focus on what was ahead of us and not really have to worry about someone trying to make an overtake on behind us. But as we head into turn number 6, we try to make a cutback on the Viper of Mad Night Mopar, and it's side by side here heading into turn number 10 as we're following him on the slipstream. We're going to see if we can try to make another cutback into Dunlop curve and into Dunlop corner right here. We're able to brake as late as we can and outbrake Mad Night Mopar, regain that 8th place position, and now we set our sights on Stock Car Racer. So we're just patiently going our way through the pack, which has been really, really good. But at the same time, I feel like I have done some aggressive moves, so it's just kind of racing like an idiot in some corners. But I just felt like I had to do that because I had so much pace, in my opinion, and I just cannot allow myself to not finish in a good spot, especially because I feel like if we would have qualified in a way better position, we could have been fighting for maybe a podium, maybe even the lead, as we were actually matching up at the times with the leader of Pooh Bear. So who knows what would have happened if I would have gotten a better qualifying position. But we just have to deal with what the cards were dealt with, and luckily 6th place does have a 1-second penalty. So my main focus here right now is to try to catch up to Stock Car Racer and ARC right ahead of us before the penalty zone, because once ARC has to serve his penalty, we should be able to get around him as long as we are within at least 1.5–2 seconds of a gap behind him. So off of the final corner here on the 3rd sector, you can see that we are actually gaining a lot of time on ARC. So not sure if it's a psychological thing where he was just losing a lot of time due to knowing he had a penalty, but me and Stock Car Racer were able to work together here and catch up to ARC. And as we pass the penalty zone, we get that easy overtake, and we are now promoted into 7th place. So lucky number 7, we have Stock Car Racer right ahead of us to get that 6th place away from him. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to catch up to 5th and everybody up ahead, as we are starting to run some time here, or run out of time here. So into turn number 1, you can see that Stock Car Racer did go for a defensive line, and that just kind of ruined his exit off of the corner as we attempt to move onto the inside into Coca-Cola. And we were just enough alongside of him is that I just decided, you know what, screw it, we're just going to go side by side. I know you only want to go single file in here, but Stock Car Racer, I trust him. We've raced against each other before, and I knew he'd be able to hold off on the outside, which he brilliantly does, as he was able to hold us off for a few corners here. But as we come out of turn number 6, as we lead us into turn number 10, that chicane, this has been kind of my biggest primary spot to try to make overtakes, as I just use that slipstream, try to keep on the inside. But just unfortunately, Stock Car Racer got too good of an exit, and he was able to build enough of a gap where it just was too optimistic for us to go in for the overtake. So we just got to wait a little bit more on the lap or towards the end of the race to just position ourselves correctly, because I don't want to be a dick anymore. I've been just pushing people out of the way all race, and I want to go around Stock Car Racer nice and clean. But off of turn number 15, I believe he got a little bit loose as he hit a little bit of that sausage curb, and that thing can really screw you up there, as kind of ruined his entrance into the final corner. But off of the final corner, you can see we're heading down the very long straight as we're just staying in his slipstream, and he went into the inside to defend the position, but he gave us just enough room onto the inside to get a car length or car width into the corner. And as we head into turn number 1, we brake as late as we can, but Star Car Racer tries to brake later, screws himself up going into the corner, and we get a better exit now as we are heading side by side into Coca-Cola once again. And going to Coca-Cola, we're able to make the overtake as Star Car Racer just decides to back out of the move, and we are now promoted into 6th place. So 3 laps left, or actually about 4 laps left here if you count this lap, and we have about a 4.5 second gap away from AMS Optimal. And at this point, I'm just trying to see if I can put in as fast as lap times as I can. Hopefully Star Car Racer can help us out, and maybe we can close the gap right ahead of us. But as we jump into lap number 13, you can see that the strategy that we were trying to implement has not been working out, and I think Star Car Racer just started getting a little bit impatient as he is now trying to make moves here for the 6th place position to get it away from us. As you can see that he was attempting a little overtake on the inside of turn number 1, but we were able to hold him off luckily, and all we have to do is just run our lines and hold him off for 1.5 more laps, and we should be able to come home with a 6th place position. But again, a little bit frustrated here because I was just trying to catch up to 5th place, but just wasn't able to. I think the tires were just starting to wear out. But as we come into the 3rd sector, you saw right ahead of us that there is a little train forming up. So maybe if these guys end up fighting with each other for position, and me and Star Car Racer can keep it running on the racing line, who knows, maybe something can happen with these guys up ahead where they end up taking themselves out or getting into a penalty because they're racing too hard, and we can get overtake on them. But going into the final lap, I decided to cover the inside to make sure that we can defend any type of attack. But you can see Star Car Racer came here to race, and he wants to get that 6th place position away from us. As we head into the first corner once again, we send it on the inside as we defend our position, and it's again side by side into Coca-Cola. But I don't think Star Car Racer is going to give us a spot this time, as he has the preferred line. He's got the spot, but unfortunately he just goes in a little too deep as we make a cheeky cutback on the inside of Star Car Racer. And I know that kind of looked planned, but I swear that was all accidental. Star Car Racer just went a tad bit too deep into the corner, and I just had the normal racing line, had to kind of avoid him off the exit, but everything worked out perfectly for us. That actually killed Star Car Racer. So you can see that he actually lost about 7-8 tenths away from us. So off the final corner here on the final lap, it looks like we're gonna finish off in 6th place here, as we're just going on to the inside to defend the position in case if some reason he gets the slipstream of the lifetime and gets around us. But as we cross the start finish line, it is confirmed we get 6th place. Clearly the Super GT effect happening in full motion here, as we were able to go all the way from 13th position up to 6th. So like I said, we drove very aggressively. We drove like a dick sometimes, and I felt like I had to here on this race. I don't really like promoting this type of aggressive racing, but just I had to push it to get as good of a position as I can, especially because it's an FIA race. But didn't seem like we had too many problems. Everyone else after the race didn't really seem to have an issue, and really didn't get into a talk with anybody. So I'm assuming that everyone thought I raced cleanly, but in my opinion, I just felt like I raced way too aggressively, and I had pushed a couple guys out of the race. Now that I recapped over what exactly happened during this race, but in the heat of the moment, like I said, I was just pushing as hard as I can, and I kind of just said screw it, try to make as many positions as I can, and this was the result here. But yeah, let me know how you guys did around your FIA race and what you guys thought about this combination in general. I actually really enjoyed it. Group 4 cars, any type of cars around Fuji is actually just brilliant. I love this racetrack so much just because it promotes so much racing, and I don't know, it's just something about this track. It's just magical in my opinion. But again, let me know what you guys thought about the race in the comments down below. And since you guys made it this far into the video, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you guys did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And as well, if you want to follow me on the Twitters or on Instagram or even on Discord, all those links are in the description down below. And again, since you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you guys did, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.